Hi, my name is Gibson, and I'm the creator of the Personal Development School. This is your daily breakthrough video, and in this video, I'm going to talk to you about 5 key tips that will help you to stop attracting narcissists. So, this is a really important topic because if somebody keeps attracting narcissistic individuals into their lives, there tend to be a few key ingredients that are likely taking place that you can actually work to resolve so you can have safer relationships, you can feel more at ease, and you'll actually feel a whole lot better in your world, like in your own life in general. So, the first tip that's really important here is to improve your internal dialogue. Now, this is in no way me justifying that it's ever appropriate for somebody to be verbally rude, difficult, disrespectful, harsh to another person. Okay, this is not me saying that. But I want to point out a really important pattern that I've noticed over the years working in a very, very busy client-based practice for years. And this is that I've often seen individuals who are in relationships with narcissists have really painful internal dialogue. And here's what happens. Our subconscious mind is very driven to maintain its comfort zone. It wants to keep around what is familiar. And so if we have a really harsh and self-critical internal dialogue, then we actually might be attracted to somebody who's also harsh and critical towards us. Now, this is usually because this person with the harsh and critical dialogue to self usually has some kind of previous challenges in past relationships. So maybe they had a narcissistic parent or a set of parents or sibling or, just somebody who was really critical in general in their family. And so they had these imprints that came from those people, and then they become really critical in the relationship to themselves. So what happens is when Bob, the narcissist, comes along and he's critical and harsh, at a conscious level, we're like, that doesn't feel right. I don't like the way that this person treats me. At a subconscious level, our alarm bells are not going off in the same way. And it's really important to recognize at the end of the day, the subconscious mind basically wins. The conscious mind can't outwill or overpower the subconscious mind. It can become aware of its subconscious programs and work to reprogram them. But we actually might feel like, oh, this person's familiar. And one of the 3 major ingredients that actually has to do with attraction and what we feel attracted to in other people is our subconscious comfort zone. And so not only will our alarm bells not go off at the subconscious level to really warn us, hey, this person and the way they speak to us is not appropriate. They're disrespectful. It doesn't feel good. Not only will that not happen, but in turn, we might actually feel like a sense of familiarity to somebody who talks to us the way we speak to ourselves. So this is a crucial point to end being attracted by or having narcissists attracted to you in your life. And for you to also be like, this feels familiar. This feels comfortable. It's like your subconscious mind likes that to a certain degree if we don't have the opportunity to undo past traumas that created those imprints to begin with. Number 2, have boundaries. Narcissists are attracted to people who are quite boundaryless. It's a huge focal point for narcissists because one of the characteristics in the DSM is they tend to exploit. They tend to like to take advantage and take whatever they can. And so when you're without boundaries, somebody sees that and they're like, oh, interesting. This makes us a match. I can exploit, and they will overgive all the time. And not only that, but narcissists tend to derive a lot of narcissistic supply from other people. And this is a huge focal point for what drives them to be in relationships. And so when they know that they can get supply in all these different forms through take, whether it's compliments, whether it's, asking for all these different things in different forms, whether it's like through love languages, whether it's through asking for their needs to be met, pressuring there, whatever it might be, if they're not getting that boundary set from somebody else, they'll keep going back to that person as a source. And obviously this can be something that's very, very draining on the other end and can be very, very harmful as well to mention. Number 3, not just knowing your boundaries, but then asserting your boundaries. And this means over all the little tiny things. It's not just knowing what your boundaries are, what your yeses are, what your nos are. It's being able to say yes and no, even around the small things. I've seen a lot of people come out of narcissistic relationships and go through sort of a recovery. And one of the main features I've often seen is they're like, oh, well, I'm good at my boundaries when I'm really angry or when I'm super fed up. Then I can have boundaries. And it's like boundaries aren't meant to only be there when you're in a state of desperation. Boundaries are meant to be there throughout the course of the day. Somebody says, hey, can you do my work for 15 minutes? And you're like, sorry, I can't. I have my own stuff to do. Hey, can you call me back right away? And you're like, no, sorry, I'm just in the middle of something. I'm not able to. It's all the little things throughout the day. And really what that has to do with is you being tapped into yourself, knowing your needs, knowing your yeses and nos, being able to feel your feelings for when something is a yes for you or a no for you, and then being able to feel confident and comfortable to express those things regularly. Number 4, knowing your needs and being able to meet your own needs. This is another really important dynamic. A lot of individuals can be in a relationship with a narcissist when the narcissist makes them feel love bombed. It makes them feel super significant, put on a pedestal, super special. And usually this is because our subconscious mind is like, whoa, I have these unmet needs. You come along, you meet these needs really profoundly. So for example, you make me feel really special, really loved, really important, really valued, really like I matter. And then the mind gets hooked. And then we actually might even go into like trying to gain the narcissist's attention or approval because that love bombing dynamic or conversation or first few dates really impacted us at such a deep subconscious level that now you want to keep going back to that. And this is really detrimental because not only does this sort of like sever the relationship to ourselves because we become so hyper vigilant to what's happening outside of us with this person and really focusing on them being the source of our needs. And that takes us out of us being able to be the source of our needs. And there's another pattern that I've seen over the years, which is that people who are coming out of narcissistic relationships, they often felt in childhood really small, really unseen, really unimportant. So when somebody comes in and meets their needs this way, makes them feel really on a pedestal and important, they are also then hooked on that feeling. And those needs being met create these really profound initial imprints at the subconscious level. And now the subconscious mind wants to keep going back to that thing, even though the conscious mind knows it's no longer healthy. It's like eating so much chocolate cake. It's like your subconscious might be driven to something while your conscious mind is like, no, but that's not healthy for me. That's not the right thing to do. And you have this sort of splitting off. And that happens with people when they struggle with substances, alcohol, all kinds of different addictions. Is the conscious mind might know one thing, but the subconscious mind is really driven by those initial imprints. And usually what happens is when love bombing takes place in a narcissistic relationship, that love bombing can really hook people if they don't have a relationship to themselves where they make themselves feel important and seen and heard and like they matter. And then even when the narcissistic behavior comes online and this person starts being toxic and unhealthy, because unfortunately narcissists can be quite unhealthy and literally just because of their own trauma, still traumatized individuals at the end of the day, but really, really difficult people to be in relationships with and really important to set boundaries and remove yourself from a relationship with as a general rule. And so what happens is there's this like love bombing that happens. It hooks the person. They almost become addicted to those original imprints. And then they're like chasing that over and over and over again, despite the negative sort of results that they're getting from the toxicity of the relationship in general. And then number 5 is learning to trust yourself. And this is really important because usually early on, you'll see some red flags. And when we're not learning to trust ourselves, listen to our gut, know that we're in a place where, hey, these red flags are coming up and they don't feel right for me. If we're not trusting ourselves, then we'll keep going back because we don't want to disappoint somebody. We feel like, oh, there's so many benefits, and we'll sometimes turn a blind eye to some of those red flags if we're not fully in tune with our own feelings, our own gut, our own intuition. And if you want to do a deeper dive into rebuilding self-trust, a big part of that has to do with repairing our internal trust baseline and learning to show up a little bit differently in the relationship we have to ourselves. And I have an entire course on this in a tremendous amount of detail that actually helps you reprogram your relationship to trusting yourself and also learning to have a healthy relationship to trusting others that includes boundaries, that includes, being able to assert yourself, that includes listening to your needs, reprogramming some of your fears, but also being able to pay attention to red flags. And there's a lot of details and workbook exercises to help you fast track that process. And you can check it out for free for 7 days by clicking the link in the description box below. And it's called the Rebuilding Trust and Overcoming Jealousy course inside PDS. And 7 days of access will help you get like really deep into that course and start seeing the ball rolling on your relationship to self-trust. So you can check that out. Hopefully this all makes a lot of sense. Thank you so much for being here. Please like, share, and subscribe if you haven't already, and I'll see you in the next video.